Hi guys, Mike Hackett here, and here it is. We're doing our first form focus preview for the week ahead. The last week that I did this, I think the takeaway message that people got from it, they heard me say the words slow, deliberate, and intentional in reference to how you should be executing your tasks and the movements that you do. I'm going to try to take some of my own advice in explaining these tasks and the circuits for the week ahead, because there's so much information that I could share just on one task alone that I'm noticing when I'm explaining it, I'm rushing through it so quickly that I fail to remember some of the things that I wanted to highlight. So I'm going to take this time to slow down. If you don't have time to watch this entire video, that's fine. All of the workouts for the next week ahead, which would be 423 through 429, they're in chronological order, so you can just go ahead and slide the cursor or whatever it's called to fast forward to the day's tasks, and you can preview those right before you do the workout. So without much further ado and interruptions, I'm going to go ahead and show you 423 onward. Okay, on 423 Monday, what we're doing is a Jacob's ladder. It's a slope of 43. If you don't know what the slopes are, go check out some of my other videos and you'll know kind of what that means. It's going to be a lot of upper body. Predominantly, you're going to do a lot of shoulders. And like halfway through the workout, a little bit earlier than halfway, we have a death row, and you're going to be doing a reverse plate push in the one spot, which means you're going to be doing that over and over again, I think 4 or 5 times. And then after that, you'll have a kiss of death, like 2 exercises later. So you're going to be hitting that area a lot. So the exercises that I'm going to show you, 2 of them, are going to hit that area as well, and we're going to spotlight it, but just kind of look out for that section when you get to it. Also, one of the things I want to highlight with these tasks is how I came up with a lot of the names, the etymology of it, because I think if you know why I came up with the name for the exercise, it'll either have some kind of association or connection that'll give you that aha moment, and then that way every time you see it, you'll remember this and you'll hopefully be able to put 2 and 2 together and figure out how to actually recall the exercise. So the first one is Stork. All right, Stork, we called it Stork because it looks like a stork. That's what some of our exercises are named after, what it looks like. So a Stork, we're going to balance on one leg, and what we're going to do is kind of like a chest press straight out from our midsection. So you're going to balance on one leg, doesn't matter if it's behind or in front, but you're going to be right here, and you're going to do a full extension outward, which is almost like a trombone. Okay, from the side, it's going to look like this. I'm balancing on the one leg, out, out, just like that. Probably the biggest thing I wanted to highlight, and the reason why I pulled this task out, is because I would like people to try to really, really not set that off foot down. Yeah, you can do that to set yourself and make sure you don't fall over or whatever, but I think too often people rely on the ability to tap down. So what I really like to see people do is kind of struggle with it, not really fall off balance, but you can really tell they're determined to keep that foot from hitting the turf, that off foot. Really, really try to do that, because when you do that, first off, you're working on your stability and balance, but you're going to feel it a lot in that lower leg of the leg that's planted. All right, and you just want to try to work on the stability of the exercise. That's really the reason why we do that. And then just try to fully get extended, like I said before. And so that's the real #1 thing on Stork, at least for this segment. Kiss of death. Now this is going to be very, very tough for you to do when you get to it. Like I said, you got death row and then reverse plate push in front of it. So all the more reason why you should try to focus on the form of this task when you get to it, because it's gonna make it harder, yes, but it's gonna make it more effective. Okay, kiss of death. The reason why we call it that is because it kind of looks like, not you're kissing, but it's going to be a chest press from this section. So it kind of looks like you're blowing a kiss or something like that, or you're kissing the plate. Okay, so that's why it's called kiss of death. You're going to get in the V-sit position. So shoulders back, make sure they're not too rounded. Chest up. Try to keep your chin up. Right now, just doing this, my abs are firing back and forth, so you should feel that. Okay, and then when you put the weight on top of it, you really have to fight that feeling to want to go back. So you're really using a lot of core here. And then we're going to do a chest press. I would say other than your feet being off the floor, try not to cross them. We do allow it on occasion for you to cross the feet, but you don't really need that, and we should strive to not do that. But the number one thing is your plate extension, just like the Stork. Okay, you're here, and try to get out, okay? It's hard for me to talk, balance, and do the exercise correctly, so I'm gonna be quiet for a second and just show you. Okay? I think that was 3. Try to get the plate past your knees if you're able to, and if you got the arms, long enough arms for it, okay? You don't want to just keep it tight in here. Actually, if you keep it back too far, you'll probably fall over because the weight's gonna set you back. But the goal should not be to rush through the movements because you're losing your core tension, and you're trying to get through it really quickly. And you don't want to fall down or something. If you need to, break it up into 5s or 10s if you're able to do that, and just take your time doing it. And like I said, your shoulders are going to be cast from the exercises prior to it, so slow down, do the right movement, but you're going to probably have to take a break in there if you're doing it correctly. So that's kiss of death. And the last one for the Jacob's ladder on 423 is Squibble. Now, this one gets interpreted many different ways across the turf. It is called Squibble because it's a made-up name for like 3 of our tasks mixed into one. It's squonk, which is normally the shuffle where you're staying low in this 90-degree position, okay? It's also kind of skate hop and scuffle mixed together, so 3 exercises. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna get low in this position, open up the front foot, your lead foot, whatever one's going down the field. We are going to jump off the foot that's planted in the back. And you're gonna jump and land. And then set that off, that push-off foot down. I'm gonna do a couple there and back so you can see the actual rhythm and I guess the duration, the quickness that I do it when I'm actually doing it, because that's kind of where some of the errors are coming from. So it's just like this. And then back. And then when you go back, on anything laterally sideways, you should always face the same way, so that way you have a different lead leg or a different push-off leg. You're not doing the same move, same side each time. Even though new people tend to want to turn around, that doesn't really get the other side. It gets the same side. So right here. When I'm doing it in a workout, going for a score, that's as fast as I go. And I want to stress that it's not supposed to be fast like squonk is. What it is a push off here, so you're going to build some explosiveness on the backside, but when you land, what you're doing with that front quad is something called deceleration. You're catching all of your body weight on that front foot. And that really fatigues your legs. If you do it right, you're like, man, that front leg is on fire. So try to get that, try to achieve that feeling in the front quad. And the other thing is just work on your weight transfer. Scuffle, and there's another one too, like tiptoes and stuff. It's all about weight transfer. A lot of these exercises were designed for hockey players, and they have to do all sorts of stuff with footwork and weight transfer. So that's where this kind of comes from. Land, land. Don't rush through it. So that's Squibble, very important. Okay, on 424 Tuesday, we have a mountain, a U-turn, a septillion 2x2, which is the first time we've really done a septillion 2x2. I suppose it could have been called a reptilian 2x2. What you're going to do is your checklist portion of a reptilian or septillion twice, and then the ones that are usually harder, the one time you do it at the bottom, you'll do those twice as well. So that's the only difference with that. This one actually flows pretty well. It's a slope of 17. And there's only one really, really difficult thing that may kind of hold you up, and that's the Orca. That's a task we rarely do. I'll get to it in a second though, because that's one of my highlights. And then the rest of it, I really think it just kind of flows like a slope 17 probably should. 45, let's do Orca first, because you're going to get to that first before 45-degree lunge, and virtually everybody's going to get a chance to do this, so it's important to watch this. Your Orca is essentially a single leg boulder and a push-up in one exercise, but you should try to do the push-up with your hands on the plate. How do we do that? We flip the plate upside down so you have a flat platform to do it on. If you're using a 25-pound plate, I understand that the surface area is a lot harder to do your push-up on, so you can go ahead and, if you have to, put your hands outside for the actual push-up part of it, but if you're using a 35 or 45, you should definitely be able to do the push-up on the plate. It's also one of our tasks that's only to number 3 and back, and it also combines elements of a scorpion, but neither here nor there. I forget why I called it Orca. It may come to me. Okay, so hopefully I'm in frame. I'm gonna get a little bit closer. You're gonna start with your hands on the plate, sit your butt down a little bit in order to achieve like a forward motion and push. Pushing out, come to a nice plank position, and then it's a close grip, close hand push-up, which is going to get your triceps more, and then jump forward and push, okay? Just like that. You're going to be staying with the same leg to 3, switch the leg back. Notice I'm not coming up on the like in between each push. But, I mean, it gets a lot of shoulders, gets a lot of legs. It's really, the reason why I wanted to highlight this task is not because there's like something small that I'm really, really looking for. It's just to show you the task because it's so infrequently done. And I guess one of the things I would kind of be aware of is since you flip the plate upside down, we've got those like 3 ridges on the Ivanko, the plate. It sometimes wants to like steer the plate in like a different direction. So just be aware that it may do that. You may be fighting like against a grain, but that's not that big of a deal. Now, 45-degree lunge is pretty important. I like to shoot these videos on the line because it gives you kind of a cross-section of what I'm looking for, or mentally kind of what I see in front of you guys when you do it. A 45-degree lunge is called a 45-degree lunge because essentially you're stepping out to a 45-degree angle. So I was never very good at geometry or vectors, whatever they're called. But you know, if this were out 90 degrees, you're stepping out this way to make a 90-degree angle, and this is straight forward. 45 is going to split those in half. So you're stepping forward and out, going 45 degrees. It's called that for that reason. But where people err are with their feet, like how they're pointing and where they're placed. It's like this, I think the number one thing that I probably pay attention to when people are doing forms is their feet. Their feet dictate pretty much how their upper body goes, how their torso is, where their head's going. Like feet is huge, footwork's huge in any sport really. But 45-degree lunge, what we want to do is go out. I'm keeping my foot, my toe pointed forward, and I'm pivoting the back foot and the hip towards that knee. Now, I would say if I were a trainer doing another methodology of training and watching a video like this, on first look, it may look a little, not dangerous, but a little bit sketchy on the knees, but it really is not, and I can show you why. We never do a 45-degree lunge with weight, so we're not overloading the joint with anything. But if you keep your heel and weight down, and you're just turning ever so slightly inward, you're not torquing the front knee, which is probably going to be the more sensitive spot. You're not going like this and twisting like that. You're keeping that toe pointed forward, you're pivoting slightly and lightly into that knee, the knee you're doing, so it'll be here. But your weight should be back further, and this, again, is another hockey exercise. Pretty much virtually any training program always had guys doing a 45-degree lunge and then return to center. But what we do is, obviously we're going down the field. I actually feel like it feels more natural to do that. But again, keep the weight back further. So from the side, it is here. My weight's back. I mean, since I'm turning away from you, it may be hard, but I'm like this, like that. It's not leaning forward. If you're leaning forward like this to push off, that's where you can run into a risk of knee issues. Now, the reason why we want to or should keep that foot straight ahead and forward is because of this. If you don't do that, and you turn and you point that toe forward, or not forward, but towards where you're stepping, you're just doing a regular lunge. If you saw my video last time I posted about gator, if you're twisting your whole body, well then you're just doing a lunge, albeit probably several more because you're not covering much ground. It's like this, it's almost like a squat, but one-legged down the field, okay? That's 45-degree lunge, that's Tuesday, Wednesday's next. 425 is a Denali. Denali's that one with the grid where you're always going down on one side in like a checklist, and then you go to the top and go across in a checklist. But that first checklist you're doing over and over again, and that's where I would say look out for like a little bit of a sticking point. It's a slope of a 23, and the last two exercises are a backwards lunge and a Neapolitan. So you're going to be doing those frequently, and then everything else is just one time. And it flows pretty good until I think the second to last row going across is a combination of like Hackett and Cujo, which is that ladder exercise where you're doing bulldozer and reverse bulldogs and bulldog back to the plate. So that'll be a tough one if you get there. I think that's probably close to 900. We're going to focus on three things: the flying monkey, yikes, and pegleg. Flying monkey, let me get this plate out of the way. Flying monkey is kind of what it sounds like. It's our monkey crawl. The reason why it's called this is our monkey crawl, but then you're going to jump up. Notice I said jump up, not over. The other one you're probably thinking of is Amarok. Amarok is what we call a flying yeti with a travel. You can travel on the jump. Flying monkey, there is no travel. So what it is, and the only thing I really want to highlight on this, get the hands over. I'm not going to break down monkey and how to do that, just the flying part. Here, jump straight up and leave the ground. Leave the ground, not an inch, like as high up as you can get. Okay, here, jump up. Okay, now that one was higher because I was giving it a little more effort. From the side, here, jump up. Okay, jump up tall, be explosive. If you're doing it right, you're going to be gassed if you get down to one end zone. One thing, other than not getting up all the way, people still jump up, but they move over just by 1 foot. So they replace 1 foot with the other. That's still technically kind of covering ground on a jump. So it looks like they'll do this. Here, actually I don't even know how to do it. Looks like here, and then they're like that. So they're pushing off of, what that tells me is they're pushing off their lead foot, not enough power in the back foot to be straight up and down. Look out for that on flying monkey. Yikes. Yikes is your hike. That's why it's called that. Yikes is a hike, but then you're jumping away from the plate, like yikes. Okay. When you jump, not going to go through the hikes, but when you hike it, obviously you're either doing it like this, you're hiking like that, or you do the bulldog throw like the more advanced people would know. You're going to jump there, but how should you land? Into a squat, a nice deep squat. Okay, I'm going to jump towards you. I'll do my hike. Okay, if you're doing this, hike it through, jump. Oh, that fell off balance. Jump and stay low. I fell off balance because I wanted to stay in frame. So land softly, try not to pound. If people are tired, or when people are tired, and I would say kind of relatively new, I'll hear this a lot. See if this microphone will pick it up. They'll hike. If you're doing that, you're just taking so much impact on your joints everywhere, especially lower body. So absorb the landing, give into the ground, like accept your body's weight. Okay, so you throw it, accept it. And the way that I do it is I land heel into the toe. Never really going over farther, so like heel to toe, and I'm falling back, so I'm trying to stress that. But that's yikes. just make sure you're kind of doing that across the board. Pegleg, similar to Stork earlier in the video, it's a single leg exercise. It's called Pegleg because it creates the vision of having like one leg and, not to get whatever, but you have one leg and you're doing everything on the one leg. Squat thrust, kick back into a full solid plank, stand all the way up, and try to stand up really tall and broad-shouldered, looking ahead. Okay, so the right way would be this. Here. Okay, there's 2 from the front, 2 from the side. See, my balance was lost a second, but captured it. Down. And even on that one, I feel like I'm doing something on my left side, because I don't know if it's my knee or whatever, but without the best form. So my right side seems to be better than the left, and I can just kind of feel that I'm leaning forward a little bit. But here are the, I guess, the errors that you may run into or be tempted to do. First and foremost, you want to set that foot down. Without weight in your hands, you should be able to try to like struggle with it to keep that weight. If you're trying to maintain your balance with the one foot throughout the duration of the exercise, it will probably take you longer, but you're getting so much more out of it just trying to maintain. Okay? That leg that's holding you, supporting you, is going to be more fatigued too. The other thing is again, head kind of dictates where you're going. Keep your head up. Try not to look straight down right away. Okay? Try to lower yourself like a squat, jump, or whatever it is we do, like rivets. Try to lower yourself at least first, or part of the way. Let me get my, yeah, all right. Lower yourself part of the way first. Don't just fall down like that. Lower yourself like a single leg squat almost, until you feel like you're really going to lose the balance. So I'm squatting down. Then try to get your hands close to the same plane as your foot. All right, it's not out here, because then you don't have much of a plank thrust to do. You need to lower yourself, hands on the line, kick back into a plank. Okay, so back to a nice solid plank. This image or this view. Try to get into a plank, then jump your hand to that starting point and stand up. Why is it so important to get your foot back to the starting position or back up to your hands? It's going to help you with a lot of things. It's going to help you with bovine, which is a single leg bulldog, and help you cover more ground. Your things like single leg boulder, gargoyle, but really I think of it as maximizing your scorpion, which is the single leg traveling push-up. And if you do that effectively, you're going to get a lot of stretching in your glutes, and you're just all around. Hamstrings are going to be way more flexible too. So, and then the other thing is stand up all the way. I know I've already said this, but let me show you kind of the incorrect way. I will see this kind of too frequently. Is, you know, they go down, back, and then they don't stand up all the way, and they're just looking straight down, so that they're like kind of hunched over. And the more you do that, it just turns into this. Okay? Instead, come up all the way. That's Pegleg, that's Denali. Let's hit Thursday. All right, Thursday now. It's a slope of 13. You're hitting a Matterhorn, an L cycle, a mountain, and a mesa. You know, this one has a pretty good flow too. There's nothing really that I would say that's going to really hold you up, except for the fact that you're going to be hitting Strow earlier than usual, let's say. So I think people who maybe not normally get to that will get to it sooner in the workout. You may not be, I guess, quite as warmed up as you normally would when you get to it. And then we also have Strow and Tyson's, which I'll highlight in a second. Strow, why was it called Strow is because it's a sideways row stroll. I kind of meshed those two together to get a Strow. Strow didn't really sound right, so Strow is what I ended up with. Anytime you see this task on the board, you should see a 1:1. It means your ratio, 1 rep per step. Okay? Your upright row, elbows above the wrist. You don't want it to come too high, like past your clavicle, past your chin, I guess, here. But what we're going to do is now we're going to go sideways laterally. You're going to step, row. Step, row. Okay, that's how I do it. As long as you do 1 step per rep, you're good, which means I'm cool with this too. Step, rep, step, rep. I don't know what it is, but I like to do the step and the row at the same time. I feel like it forces me to have to use my obliques and my core a little bit more when I do that. And there's just something I just don't like about stepping, and then it doesn't feel as good to me or as fluid. So, but as long as you're doing 1 step per rep, that's cool. Watch this though. Make sure you're going all the way down. So this is what it looks like sideways. All the way down. Too often I'll go back the other way. I will see this, and they just hold it here. So it turns into like a slow one, not a slow one, a quicker one, because you're not going all the way down, so you're able to do a lot quicker little churns. So avoid that, try to go all the way down. Obviously watch your kneecaps when you go down. Razor. All right, now this one is one of my, I don't want to say pet peeves, one of the hardest ones for me to, I guess, articulate and show people in the middle of a workout exactly how to do it. Razor is a rampage. Rampage is a stationary task that we do that is supposed to target your hip flexors, your hip mobility, your hamstring, I guess, flexibility. And I think Rampage is one of the best exercises we have if you do it effectively. So in order to show you Razor, I'm going to show you Rampage, and there's really no rhyme or reason for why I call Razor Razor, except for the fact I was thinking it sounds like it's the beginning. It's like Rampage and Razor, R-A, and I don't know, that just connected for me. So hands on the line, try to get that foot, whatever foot it is, outside of your hands, but also on the line. I realize that not everybody is this flexible, so maybe for you it's like back here. But the goal is that your intention is to get up as far as you can, and eventually by doing these exercises through the full range of motion, you will be able to get that far up. Okay? Now my back leg, I mean, my hip is completely flat, it's completely straight back, and it's not up like this or shorting the plank. It's a plank, and then we're gonna alternate. Okay? So that's Rampage, and I felt like it's critical for you to see what a Rampage looks like in order to do Razor. There's more stuff on Rampage that I should get into, but I can say that for another video because right now it's just a push. When you push the plate, your footwork should not do anything different, except I think I have a little pop step to keep myself balanced. I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna have to back up for this one. So your front foot should get close to, I can't talk and do a rhythm at the same time. The front of the plate, or maybe even in front of the plate. Okay, and I'm going slow there to like show you how it should look, like foot-wise, but really it should be a little more fluid than that. Let me show you kind of like a regular paced one that I would do. I know I'm off screen. Like a regular paced one, and there's that little stutter pop step that I'm talking about. So it looks like this. Actually, maybe I didn't do it there, but what I'm doing is I'm landing with my back foot and the front foot at the same time, because that's what you do in Rampage. Land, but I can also push off the back one. Push off, but you're pushing the plate. Very frequently, it turns into like a skate hop, which is our enforcer push. The idea should be you're pushing off both foot equally, and I find that if you do it in the full range of motion, it's actually a lot easier because you cover more ground with each push. Get tired. That's Razor. Last one is Tyson. I would say Tyson would be probably in the top 5, if you ask your pro, of tasks that's done either incorrectly or just varied from person to person. And it's relatively simple. Tyson is called Tyson because it's got some kind of punch in there, and I was thinking of Mike Tyson. So, although it's not the most forceful like looking punch usually, but what you should be doing is, let's pretend like we're going that way. We should be driving from our back hip, okay, back hip throwing a punch like that. So like if I'm going slowly, it looks like it's like very rigid and robotic. It looks like this. I'm pivoting on my back foot and you're punching, okay? That's what a slow one would look like. But we do it quickly and we want to try to throw the hips and the shoulder and the punch all at the same time. So here, 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 here. Again, weight transfer. I'm always talking about weight transfer, transferring the hips, moving the hips just like that. Let me go forward towards you. Here, here, here. Okay, let me do it one more time. Throw the hip, throw the hip, throw the hip. Okay? It's hard to throw your hip and throw a punch and do several of them. That really shouldn't be a rest if you're doing it correctly throughout the workout. Sure, it's not as hard as your single leg inchworm, but it should fatigue you. Where the errors come, I would say probably the one either with the least effort or the least awareness would be this one. Some people kind of just like do like a forward Ali and just punch, zero hip twist, zero shoulder movement. The other one is kind of like just not going all the way, like just twisting on the upper body, be like, or getting it backwards. The weight's gonna be more on your back foot, just like your trog, Taras, all those. My weight's back, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's Tyson. Hopefully we can get it right going forward. We got a Centaur 2, a Mountain 4, and a Mongoose Gauntlet, which is sounds like a good one. It is a 37 slope, and the Mongoose Gauntlet's later, so not everyone's gonna really get deep into it. And you shouldn't worry too much about that if you're thinking that Mongoose Gauntlet's gonna be difficult for you, then realistically you probably won't get that far, that close to the gauntlet. Honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But what I would look out for is 2 Malcolm in the Middles, named after one of the owners in Brownstown, and a 313 in the workout, and then also, I think on the, what was it? I think it's, oh yeah, I'm looking at the right routine, sorry. It's a halo, sideways halo like the Stro you just saw. But we are gonna highlight opened in this video in 313. Okay, opened. It is called opened because we have an exercise called pinned, which was named because you're pinning it against your chest. All right? What I'm saying is the plate should be pinned against your chest. There shouldn't be any daylight between you and the plate. All right, now I understand that body types are different, so it's going to vary from person to person, but it should look like this, you're pinned. I don't even know if you guys can see that. I am pulling backwards, applying pressure to the plate, and I'm also keeping the plate just underneath my chin. Take it a step further, this one is called open because you're opening up the plate. Essentially, you're thinking of opening up a plate. I think of it as opening up a heavy bag of chips. And the reason why we can do this exercise like this is because the ridge is on the plate. So your plate has to be facing away, which it probably is. But here, and your elbows are going to have to be out, not because flare, not we're just holding it out for that reason, for no reason, but it's because you're pulling outward. There's no way to do it right if you're pulling like this and keep your elbows in. This will achieve that scapular retraction. You're going to get a little bit of the traps too, but you're pulling outward. Notice where my chin is. Okay, that's another thing I think of. Chin, pinned, opened. Okay, and I'm always thinking of like holding it up here. And when I hold it up here, from the side, or pinned, opened, my bicep is fully contracted at the top part of the head by like where it inserts to your shoulder. You're holding it up here, so you're constantly in a flexed position. Whereas if you're drooping on a regular pin or letting the plate come down, you're just kind of not engaged fully with your upper body. Open is also a suicide, just like a regular pin, so it means you're walking a suicide. Try not to speed up your walk on the pin or any suicide strength task for that matter, just to get it done with, okay? Kind of endure the moment, stay with the pain, and just worry about the task that you're on. 313. 313 was called all that because we live in Detroit, or we're all around Detroit with the same area code of 313. So I obviously wanted to make a nod to that, but it's also 3 exercises in one task, doing 3 different versions of a similar exercise. Okay, so 3, 1, 3. Hopefully you got that. But it is our inchworm, our ball and chain, and a single leg inchworm. Now that doesn't mean you're doing inchworm to 2, ball and chain to 3, single leg to 4. It means you're alternating all 3 exercises every single stride or movement or pull that you do. Okay, I just recently saw that being done several times here, line to line to line, in the mothership at St. Louis Shores, and that's not right. Okay, and there's a reason why I like to do all 3 of those reps into one another, because it should be a seamless transition, and it's going to teach you that the better you do your ball and chain and maximize your distance, the better you're going to do this exercise, because you're going to have to do fewer single leg inchworms. Okay? Let me show you. I don't know if I'm in frame here, but I should be close. Inchworm, knees to chest. We won't get into the details on that. Ball and chain, biggest important thing here, most important thing. Try to fully extend out, like the Rampage I was showing you in the video earlier. Fully extend all the way out, then you're going to start dragging the back foot up, replace the knees, so now this leg's straight, and this knee's like right at my chin or my chest. This hand should stay down, that's something for ball and chain we can discuss later. And then from here, now you do your single leg inchworm up. Okay, I'll go back the other way and I'll switch legs, kind of 3 in a row without talking. It should look like that all the way down. I play a game with myself. I try to count how many single leg inches it takes for me to do one pass. So usually if I'm really going good, I only have to do 2 single leg inches. Sometimes it's 3, depending on how tired or tight I am. So open 313 Saturday, 428. It is a slope of 15. There wasn't anything that popped out at me that was going to be like your kind of, I guess you could call, what do you call it, speed bump that you run into and it kind of slows you down. We got a vertex, a faded 2, and molehills. 3 exercises we're going to tackle are Tippy-Tap, Revival, and Denser. Tippy-Tap is named Tippy-Tap because it just kind of looks like you're like tiptoeing, but then you're tapping the foot, tapping the toe on the inside of your foot. It looks like that. Well, that was a bad one, but the idea is you're doing skate hops, right? You know our skate hops where you're not touching. Well, this is forcing you to, or should be, to land and tap, but that means you're putting all the weight on that foot, whereas, you know, it's transitioning weight again. This exercise was also pulled from doing agility exercises with hockey players in an agility ladder in something we called typewriter. So it would look like this. It's going to be tough without it. It looks like, not that. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. It's like that. So it's just trying to get your feet to land and then just be quick. So land and then transition. So it should look like this. Tap, and I'm tapping on the inside. I am not tapping behind because I see that a lot where people do that. I want to go from the side view because you can kind of see tap. Tap, tap, tap. Now you can go faster than I'm showing you right now. As long as you're getting the foot planted and tapping, you're doing tippy-tap. So it's just tap. All you gotta do is tap with the toe. Okay, revival. Revival has a brother, also called resurrection. Resurrection is forward, revival is backwards. The way you can differentiate those two is revival starts with REV, just like all of our reverse pushes, that stands for reverse. And they both mean the same thing. They're both synonyms of each other. Resurrection and revival. Okay? Revival is a plank that you're going to walk back for the entire amount of the turf. So, you'll be here, you would squat down, back, reverse the squat, stand up. It's like a traveling Gorgon, if you know what that is. But the number one thing is we're making sure we're doing good squats, getting nice and deep. But it's smart to have your hand placement as back as you comfortably can. Use your flexibility that you've earned throughout cycles training to maximize your distance and do as few revivals as possible. Okay? Now I go knuckles down. I can explain that again another time, but knuckles down gives me a little bit more room. Okay, so I squat down. My chin is still up. I'm not looking down. I don't know if you can see me, but maybe not. Here, I like to put my knuckles back. I'm well behind my heels. If it's here for you or however it is, that's fine. Just try to get back and deep as possible. Maximize your plank. Try not to sag. And if you're just doing this, you're first off not getting your core involved, but you're not getting as much distance as you can. Okay? And then we're going to crawl back. But the first thing I did with my crawl was bend my knees. I'm bending my knees and then I'm going to sit down into it, stand up. Okay? Too often I'll see, I'll see this. It'll be tough for me to do, but like the legs are like out, and then that's hurting my hip to do that. But to like keep the legs straight, you're not bending your knees. Your knees should bend, sit back down into the revert, like end of the squat, and then stand up. And then finally, just make sure you're standing up all the way. Okay, here, stand up, nice and tall, kind of like acknowledging the off wall. And then denser. Denser's like open in a way where you're holding the plate, walking a suicide, but it's called denser because you're trying to condense the plate. So you're trying to do the opposite of pin. You're trying to push it in and walk a suicide, keeping it up by your chin again. But you're trying to condense the plate, and by doing so, you're hitting something called a very small area called the serratus, like right in between your lats and your pecs. And you should be feeling it a lot, especially the next day. So denser is walking a suicide like that. I just want to highlight what it was, essentially, just kind of pushing inward, trying to let it slip down. So that's Saturday. We got one more for this week, Sunday coming up. Okay, we're at the end of the week now. 4/29, a Sunday. This is going to be a very interesting workout. People are always telling me how much, either on the podcast or on socials, that their favorite circuit is a checklist. They like variety and stuff. And so not to intentionally throw it in your face or anything like that, I have a circuit or workout called Beware the Checklists, because you won't really want to look forward to these. You will, I mean, let's face it, if you're doing cyclist training and you're a regular and you're always doing it, we say that you're not going to look forward to something. Really, deep down, you want that challenge. I mean, that's why we're here. So it's a zenith, then a grounded checklist, and then a reverse hybrid, and then a 16 plate push straight of all pushing. Okay, so that zenith and the hybrid that are in between those checklists, those are a little bit easier, so you're going to kind of get a break there. But the grounded checklist, you're doing all pushes, all crawls, drags, that kind of stuff. Some of our hardest exercises are in there. And then 16 plate pushes, not all different, I think it's 8 different pushes. That's going to be hard for anyone. And that's a heck of a finish if you can finish that. So 2 exercises we're highlighting, Slapjack and Jackbox. Now, Slapjack is something I've demonstrated so many times, but hopefully now that we're kind of using this other platform and using YouTube, this will be one of the last times I have to show it, because it's really the beginning of the exercise that's being misinterpreted. And it is our jackalope. There's a lot of jack exercises, huh? It's your jackalope, so the plate there's the task that you would be dragging the plate with your back hand, but you're going to release the plate with your back hand after the second crawl, okay? Really want to stress second. You're going to count how many times your front hand touches the turf, okay? It would look like this. 1, 2, you're going to release right there. When you release, first off, when you release, stay low. If you come up out of that and you're trying to pull weight and you're trying to torque your body a little bit, that could be dangerous. Stay low, drive through, and just like you're bowling. I mean, Joe would probably know this better than I would, but you're probably bowling staying low. You don't want to come up and out of it. But this is, if you can fix the beginning part of your movement, you're going to be just fine. even our trainers and our pros that do this regularly still have a tough time wrapping their heads around some of this beginning part. Let's say you're getting ready to start jackalope or slapjack in this position. This is, you're getting ready to go that way. This is end zone 1. Many people will start like right away with their hand down, right? Because they'll go like this, and they'll go like that to continue. But you don't really want to do that with slapjack because you want to maximize your first hand setting downward movement with your front hand. Okay, so in order to do that, you want to get the plate started and then get the front hand down. So I just covered an extra 3 feet and then do it again. The idea is to start with the plate moving, not your hand, and don't waste your first touch on no progression down the field. So it should be, I'm going to start 1. Okay, that's how I started it. And then the next one, then I can throw. Truthfully, by the time I'm getting ready to release the plate, I'm past or close to line number 2. So I've already done 2 crawls. When I throw it, I get it 2/3 of the way there. So not sure if I'm in. Okay. Try not to waste movement here and then do the second one and then think you're owed a third one. You're not. You got to release it. And if you don't do it correctly, chances are your lower body's not going to be ready to throw the plate forward because you didn't really set yourself up to have that strong, stable lower body. So that's slapjack. That's a lot for that one to remember. And it takes a little practice. Jackbox. Let me back up. Slapjack was called slapjack because it has the word jack in it, and it reminds us of jackalope and jackal, and it kind of looks like you're slapping the plate. Okay? Now Jackbox, ironically, has nothing to do with jackal, jackalope, or slapjack, but it means jack in the box because it appears like you're actually acting out what a jack in the box looks like. Okay, Jackbox is one of my favorite exercises, but it's really difficult. I'm going to jump forward, land like bulldog feet, Delora feet, bulldozer feet, jump up, explode up. So it looks like this. Start with your feet like with the plate, jump forward, landing flat, chin up, chest kind of up, explode up. Okay? Then you go right back into it. Let me back up, show you a couple in real time. Here we go. Okay. Those 2 right there. The errors that we'll notice is not getting your feet all the way up. If you don't get your feet all the way up, then you're not going to be able to get right into the squat jump seamlessly, which I suppose is all right. You just got to build your way up to it. But not max effort on the squat jump. Well, I will see kind of like people come up and like either not leave the turf or just maybe get like a ½ an inch, explode up, okay? Yeah, that's gonna make the rest of the exercise harder, but let's get more out of it. And then a couple things with like the hand placement and the initiating of the plate push. I will see this, where the person will start their push portion almost like a potty shot. So they will go like this and then turn their hands into the boulder push part, or the bulldozer part. So they'll do this kind of. Move the hands and then they'll jump forward. You should really just progress down the field by jumping the plate forward. The other thing I will say to try to like articulate it in a way that people will really kind of get more out of it is to ride the plate. And what I mean by that is literally try to fly through the air safely. Make sure you have a good grip on the plate, you're not pushing down too hard. But try to ride the plate with your hands in the air, okay? So if you're not doing it correctly, and usually when I say ride the plate, it's because the person's just going like this, like a boulder where they're exploding or maybe leading a little bit, and then they jump up, and then they jump forward, jump up. What you want to do is maximize your distance, okay? that's a good point. That's the reason why I say, okay, jump up max effort, because that way when you get to this with fresh legs, this portion of the push forward, you're gonna be able to cover more ground because all of the squat jumps you did before that were max effort. All right, okay, so ride the plate. Okay, how long can I stay in the air? Is my upper body strong enough to support me to do that? Let's hope so, because then you'll have the confidence to be able to jump forward. But ride the plate forward. I'm going to exaggerate, you know, the air time, but and then get the feet forward to set yourself into the jump. Last thing on Jackbox, try not to do an extra little push in the beginning or at the end of the movement. So one very minor thing that I'll see done every now and then is this. Here, and then that was exaggerated, but like a follow through where you're just kind of like, I'm just gonna let the plate go, and then, oh, look at it, I get to start, you know, an extra foot ahead. Now you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, okay? What you should do, explode forward, stick the landing with the plate, obviously your feet too, but with the plate, leave it there, jump right back into it, don't let it travel because of your momentum moving forward. Whew. So that's the week of 423. I feel like I can't say, you know, good luck, because people kind of misunderstood that as to say it's going to be really hard. No, it's going to be fun. Pay attention to those tasks, the forms. Look out for some of those hurdles I mentioned, and we'll see you next week.